Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video. I'm going to talk about the death of DEI, more indicators that the pendulum has swung back hard, as if you didn't get the memo after yesterday's election. Now more companies are ditching their DEI departments. They're tossing people overboard because it's not fashionable. It's not fashionable. The American people have spoken. The consumers have spoken. They're tired of it. They're over it. And everybody is in a mad rush to get rid of their DEI departments. Now, the unfortunate side effect of this is that some people are probably going to get tossed overboard that actually perform, right? But they might have been hired under these programs. And that is the unfortunate side effect of it. Or people who just happen to be not white, not male, not straight, whatever, are going to get caught up in the net, and people are just going to make assumptions that they were diversity hires. And that, again, is another unfortunate side effect. This is another reason why, beyond the sheer idiocy of it all and the misguidedness of it all, and the fact that we're putting unqualified people in many cases in positions that damage the companies, in some cases like Boeing actually put people's lives in danger, right? You've got this whole issue of people actually being, the people that were supposed to be helped by these initiatives actually getting hurt in the process. And it's a damn shame. So we're gonna talk about this because this should have been done a lot sooner. And this just shows again that these companies are always very superficial. They wait to see which way the wind's blowing. And when it was obvious to most people that the general public was tired of the woke stuff, this summer they started tossing people overboard, and they can't shut it down fast enough. Except for Hewlett-Packard, I guess they're actually going to double down on it. So good luck with that. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, go out to Clownfish Minus, clownfishminus.com. Join our plus club, Clownfish Minus. See what we did there? Yeah, so we're not even going to pretend. We're just going to, take your money. That's what we're going to do. We do give you extra content, though. We have some extra podcasts out there talking about stuff that maybe isn't right for YouTube, or isn't going to really, get a lot of traction on YouTube, or in this case, like we're taking a big dump on Google, and I know that YouTube, being owned by Google, probably wouldn't appreciate that, so we're not going to put that here. Have to give a hat tip to Grums, who actually posted about this earlier today. They're just all tossing people overboard, tossing these departments overboard. This is coming from TechCrunch. Mozilla Foundation is laying off 30% of its staff, and it's dropping their advocacy division. Advocacy division is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? They just try to call it something else. And of course, people are talking about Bridge. I don't think Bridge is going to get very far now. I think people are on to it, and I think the fact that we now have Republican control of everything, I don't even think they're going to be able to sneak it anywhere. And you've got Elon Musk whispering in Trump's ear. I don't think it's going to get very far. I'm going to be completely honest. I think at this point, especially in tech, we're entering the rebuilding phase. And I think that the tech industry especially is going to rebuild from the damage that's been done over the last 5, 6, 8 years, where they've hired unqualified people. And they've just destroyed these companies. They had a lot of bloat, and they've just destroyed these companies. Anyway, back to the article. It's coming from TechCrunch. The Mozilla Foundation, the nonprofit arm of the Firefox browser maker Mozilla, has laid off 30% of its employees as the organization says it faces a relentless onslaught of change. Translation: the public is over it. Now, what's weird is I did not realize that Mozilla had a DEI department. I mean, I guess I should have just assumed, because everybody in Silicon Valley thought that was the thing to do. And a lot of it had to do with venture capital, right? They had to have their diversity, equity, and inclusion statement if they wanted to get some of that sweet, sweet venture capital. That's run out. Now they actually have to get money out of customers, right? And that means you got to put the best possible product out there. But I didn't even know they had a DEI department. When reached by TechCrunch, Mozilla Foundation's communications chief Brandon Borman confirmed the layoffs in an email. The Mozilla Foundation is reorganizing teams to increase agility and impact as we accelerate our work to ensure a more open and equitable technical future for us all. That unfortunately means ending some of the work we have historically pursued and eliminating associated roles to bring more focus going forward, read the statement. According to the annual tax filings, Mozilla reported having 60 employees during the 2022 tax year. Yeah, I think they had very many people working there. The number of employees at the time of the layoffs was closer to 120 people, according to a person with knowledge. When asked by TechCrunch, Mozilla's spokesperson did not dispute the figure, so they doubled in like 2 years. This is the second layoff at Mozilla this year, the first affecting dozens of employees who work on the side of the organization that builds the popular Firefox browser. Mozilla is made up of several organizations, one of which is the Mozilla Corporation, which develops Firefox and other technologies, and another is the nonprofit and tax-exempt foundation, which oversees Mozilla's corporate governance structure and sets the browser's policy, the browser maker's policies. Much of Mozilla's work focused on advocating for privacy, inclusion, and decentralization of technology to create safer, more transparent online experiences for everyone, which ultimately benefit the browser maker and the users. DEI. Privacy and decentralization, cool. Inclusion, why? What does it matter the color of a person's skin or their gender or their sexual identity or whatever, or their religion, when it comes to just making technology, right? You know what I'm saying? That has no bearing on, this is a very nuts and bolts kind of a thing. You know, it's not even really a terribly creative thing. It's just, it's a browser. You don't need an inclusion department for that. Announcing the layoffs in an email to all employers on October 30th, the Mozilla Foundation's executive director, Nabia Saeed, confirmed that two of the foundation's major divisions, advocacy and global programs, are no longer part of our structure. Advocacy and global programs. Why do you have to have that when you're just making a fucking browser? Just make a fucking browser. Make a fucking browser. Make a fucking game. Make a fucking sandwich. You know what I'm saying? Just what people do in their free time or how they want to live their lives outside of work, that's on them. They can do whatever the hell they want to do. But whatever. After publication, Borman told TechCrunch that advocacy is still a central tenet of Mozilla Foundation's work and will be embedded in all functional areas without providing specifics. The move, according to Saeed, is in part to produce a unified, powerful narrative from the foundation, including revamping the foundation's strategic communications. Our mission at Mozilla is more high stakes than ever. We find ourselves in a relentless onslaught of change in the technology and broader world, and the idea of putting people before profit feels increasingly radical. Navigating this topsy-turvy, distracting time requires laser focus and sometimes saying goodbye to the excellent work that has gotten us this far because it won't get us to the next peak. Lofty goals demand hard choices. Good luck with that. Because most people, myself included, were not aware that you even had a DEI department, and now you just put it out there for the world to see. You know, so I'm sure Elon Musk will probably hone in on this too and be like, hey, we're going to have an X browser and it's not going to have any wokeness or any, what I'm saying. They can do what they want to do. But then when users choose to use another browser, and God knows we need other choices. I mean, it's basically between Google, Microsoft, and Mozilla at this point. I guess Brave is kind of a thing too. But yeah, we need some other options, right? So, yeah, I think things are going to change. Now, this is interesting. Just since we're talking about DEI, I'll just go ahead and roll it into this video. Retailers are bracing for DEI blowback in lead up to election and holiday shopping season. So this was a day before the election, and they said that retailers are like, yeah, there's some brands that are just not going to sell because of the backlash. Key points: retailers are bracing for blowback related to DEI policies in the lead up to the 2024 presidential election and the critical holiday shopping season. Some companies are concerned about attending public DEI events, while others are strategizing how to avoid criticism over their policies and programs. Don't do it. Or, just rolled into HR or something. Like, hey, we have Susan over here who will hear you out if you have some specific complaints about, actual racism, actual sexism, actual workplace harassment, or if, because of your culture, you've got like a different holiday you'd like to request instead of Christmas or whatever. Yeah, we can do that for you. That's all you got to do. I worked one software company I worked at. We had people had different religions, and guess what? We had floating holidays, and Christmas was observed. The company was actually closed for Christmas, but you had several days that were floating holidays. So if you wanted to take another couple of days off, a lot of people just take the extra days off, between Christmas and New Year's. But if you wanted to take off Hanukkah or something else, you were able to do that. Chinese New Year, whatever you wanted to do, right? You could do it, and that's why we had it. But we didn't have to make it part of the official program. Just like, hey, we observed these holidays because they were the company I worked for. We actually worked with the government, so they were federal holidays. And then you had like a week. You could just kind of, or it was like 4 days or something like that. You could just kind of space it out throughout the calendar. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. There's a clear sentiment in the retail community that nobody wants to get tractors supplied. One retail industry insider told CNBC they don't want to get tractors supplied. Retailers are facing a tough equation as they head into the all-important holiday shopping season, this time over DEI. Companies are bracing for blowback related to policies around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and are hoping to avoid alienating customers who may deem the brands too woke or not woke enough. So we can just say that now? Is that because this is CNBC? This is a business publication. We can just say, the brands are too woke or they're not woke enough. Some are tapping outside advisors for advice on how to avoid criticism. Others are opting out of public events on the topic as backlash against equity and inclusion programs grow in the lead up to the presidential election. Guess what? Landslide victory again. The American people have spoken. They're over wokeness. They're done. They're done. And you don't have to like Trump, but they're over wokeness. And guess what? They're your potential customers. So you're going to have to, if you want to maximize your sales, you're going to have to realize that the majority of people are over it. CNBC spoke with a number of retail industry insiders, strategists, and staffers who spoke on the condition of anonymity to do so candidly. There's a clear sentiment in the retail community that nobody wants to get tractors supplied, said one retail industry insider, referring to that company's decision to walk back a series of DEI initiatives after conservative activist Robbie Starbuck criticized the policies online. Retailers left to their own devices would like to be very proactive on DEI. But now they don't want any of their views to be public because they want to be able to sell stuff to everybody, and it's become such a stupid political issue. Yes. And who started it? You know what I'm saying? Like, you made such a big ass deal about it. And that's the thing. Like, people, I don't think they care if you're giving to charities. I don't think they care, even when it comes to, Pride merch or whatever. The majority of people don't really care. It was when it was so like doubling, tripling, quadrupling down. Remember back in the day, speaking of Starbucks, like people had a shit fit over a red cup, right? This is so much more obnoxious and the red cup was like, this is how you kind of sort of make everybody happy. Okay, whatever. The DEI stuff is just, it's in your face. It's inescapable and people are over it. And again, even the people who it's supposed to help are even like, this is fucking annoying. That's the truth. They're annoyed by it. It's off-putting. It's like, I liken it to like evangelical Christian like tracts or something, like the Jack Chick tracts, right? It's like this in-your-face messaging, this ham-fisted messaging. People can smell it a mile away. They can. It's like watching, religious propaganda. They can smell it. You're trying to preach to them, and they just want to buy a bag of grain or something from Tractor Supply, buy some tools, and you're like, well, have you accepted our activism as your Lord and Savior? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, I don't care. I'm not into it. Just shut up. I just want to buy tools. That's all I want to do. The retail industry's concerns over DEI comes after a number of high-profile consumer-facing companies, Lowe's, Tractor Supplies, Ford, Molson Coors, walked back some of their equity and inclusion policies in recent months. Again, they knew which way the winds were blowing before the people who were convinced that Harris was going to win knew. It was very obvious if you're paying attention that the American people were getting fed up with all of this, all of it, all the wokeness. They're getting fed up with it. The changes include ending sponsorships for pride festivals and cutting ties with the Human Rights Campaign and Q Plus Advocacy Group. Across industry, some companies have also cut positions for DEI roles. Yeah, we just talked about it. Between 2019 and 2022, new jobs for Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officers spiked nearly 170%. But over the last year, new jobs for roles have fallen. Well, companies like Google, Meta, they've cut staffers and downsized programs that fell under DEI. When explaining their decision to cut back on DEI, some companies like Lowe's say the recent U.S. Supreme Court decision that outlawed affirmative action as a catalyst for reviewing their policies. Privately made retailers are concerned about losing customers and becoming the subject of conservative backlash, industry insiders told CNBC. Well, if they are a minority of vocal alt-right bigots, who cares? Oh, guess what? They're not. There's a lot of them, and they are capitalists for the most part, and they've got money. They talk about Bud Light and yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, I expect this to end. And again, I think some companies will always have some kind of DEI initiative internally, but I don't think they're going to wear it on their sleeves like they have been. They're not going to have it be a customer-facing thing, and it never really should have been. Like, if you want to give to certain groups or whatever, that's your business. Your private business, you want to give to organizations, that's on you, right? But, when you basically expect your customers to get on board with everything that you do, and you're basically, using them to bankroll activism that they may not agree with, and then calling them bigots if they're not on board with it, guess what? They're not going to patronize your business anymore. So Christmas is going to be interesting. There's probably going to be like a naughty and nice list of woke and unwoke companies or whatever, and who's naughty and who's nice depends on where you live. You got one list for Portland and then another list for the rest of the country. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see if companies, I'm looking at toy companies like Hasbro and Mattel, if they pushed DEI stuff or wokeness, if parents just actively choose not to buy their products and they go buy other stuff, that would be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen. I am excited that it seems like the money fountain's getting turned back on. Stocks are great today. The market's great today. So there's that. Maybe people will be comfortable spending money again. I don't know. We're entering a whole new era here, guys. We'll see. It's so weird because I think the era that we're entering is actually an era of normalcy. It's been so long since things have been normal that it's hard to imagine things being normal again. But I think we're going to get there. I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later. Join the reef. Go to clownfish-.com. That's clownfish-.com. You will get exclusive access to podcasts and videos and comic strips and more, as well as merch discounts. Check it out. If you were a member, you could get this t-shirt, this dismal t-shirt on our website. You'd get a 10% discount on that. You can also join in the community on clownfish-.com. Thank you so much for the support.